My name is Lucas Bennett, but everyone calls me Luke. I'm 22 years old, a graphic design student at a college in Burlington, Vermont. If you ask me where I'm from, I won't talk about the lively streets of Montpelier, where I grew up, or the cramped dorm I share near Lake Champlain, with its view of shimmering water and distant Adirondacks. I'll tell you about a weathered clapboard house on the edge of Shelburne, surrounded by rolling hills, maple trees, and fields of wildflowers, where the sky burns pink and gold at dusk like a vow of hope. That's where my grandmother, Clara Bennett, lives, and this story starts with her. I don't dwell on the past, but my childhood memories always pull me back to pedaling a creaky bike down a 6-mile gravel road from Montpelier to Clara's house. The air heavy with the scent of pine, damp earth, and blooming lilacs. That road, winding through Vermont's green hills, is etched into my soul. A path to love, safety, and the first wounds of life. I was never an easy kid. In school, I was the troublemaker, scraping by with C's and D's, always landing in detention for mouthing off or starting fights. At 12, I swiped a pack of gum from a gas station just to see if I could. Another time, I shoved a kid who mocked my hand-me-down sneakers, splitting his lip. My father, Richard Bennett, a mechanic at a Montpelier auto shop, would drag me to the garage after these incidents, swatting me with a rolled-up rag and growling, "You want to end up in juvie, Luke?" My mother, Margaret, a cashier at a local supermarket, didn't hit me, but her exhausted sighs and furrowed brow hurt worse. "Luke, why can't you just be good?" she'd mutter, her voice heavy with disappointment, as if I were a puzzle she couldn't solve. Those moments made me want to bolt, to escape the weight of their judgment. So I'd grab my bike, a rusty red thing with a wobbly seat, and pedal hard to Clara's, the only place where I wasn't a screw-up. Clara lived alone in her small Shelburne house, its green shutters peeling, the porch sagging under years of Vermont winters. It wasn't much to look at. Cracked windows rattled in the wind, and the roof leaked during spring rains. But to me, it was paradise. The house smelled of cedar, old books, and Clara's apple pie, its warm crust flecked with cinnamon. She'd be waiting on the porch in a faded plaid apron, her silver hair tied loosely, her smile soft as morning light. "Luke, what trouble did you stir up today?" she'd ask, her voice free of the judgment I got at home. She'd lead me to her kitchen, where a brass lamp cast a golden glow over a worn table, and set a slice of apple pie in front of me, the filling tart and sweet. "Eat first, then talk," she'd say. "This pie can fix any hurt." I don't know if her pie was truly magical, but each bite dulled the sting of my father's rag, my mother's sighs, or the taunts of kids at school. I'd sit there, the world fading away, and spill everything. How I broke a classroom chair, got caught skipping math, or punched a bully who stole my lunch. Clara never interrupted, never scolded. She'd nod, her gray eyes kind, and then share her own stories, weaving them like threads into my heart. Clara had been a dreamer in her youth, working as a seamstress in a Burlington tailor shop in the 1960s. Her eyes lit up as she told me, "I'd pin dresses all day, my hands sore, but I'd hum and smile for the customers. They loved my chatter." At 22, she met my grandfather, Thomas, a stoic lumberjack with calloused hands and a quiet laugh. They married, settled in Shelburne, and had 3 children. My father Richard, Uncle Henry, and Aunt Ellen. Life was a postcard until Thomas died in a logging accident when Clara was 34. "I stood by the window, waiting for him to come home for supper," she said, her voice catching. Instead, men from the lumber company knocked, hats in hand, saying he was gone. At 34, Clara was left with 3 kids, no savings, and no family to lean on. She sewed dresses by lamplight, cleaned houses by day, and stretched every dollar. One winter, we had nothing but stale bread and a jar of raspberry jam, she said. "I called it a feast, and your dad, just 6, ate it with a grin." Her resilience stunned me. "It wasn't suffering, Luke," she'd say, smiling. "It was love. You'll move mountains for those you care about." Summers with Clara were my refuge. I'd wake in her attic room, sunlight streaming through wooden slats, warming the patchwork quilt she'd tucked me in. We'd spend mornings in her garden, pulling weeds, harvesting beans, or planting marigolds. Afternoons, we'd lie on the grass, naming clouds, bears, ships, castles. She taught me to read the wind's direction, to listen for chickadees predicting rain. "The world's got secrets, Luke," she'd say. "Hear it, and you'll learn more than any classroom." But home was a storm I couldn't escape. My father's temper flared after long shifts fixing cars, his voice sharp as a blade. My mother, drained from scanning groceries, barely spoke to me. When I broke her favorite teacup at 14, she shouted, "Luke, why are you so reckless? Can't you do anything right?" Her words burned, and I fled to Clara's, tears streaking my face as I pedaled. She'd wrap me in a hug, let me sob, then sit me down with pie. "You're not a mistake, Luke," she'd say, her voice steady. "You're meant for big things. Just be patient with yourself." Clara wasn't just my grandmother. She was my best friend, my anchor, the one person who saw me as more than a troublemaker. But I started noticing her solitude. Her children rarely visited. My father, busy at the garage, called her stubborn for staying in her old house. Uncle Henry, a real estate agent in Boston, sent occasional texts. Aunt Ellen, living nearby in Essex with her twin boys, was always too swamped to stop by. "Why don't they come, Grandma?" I asked at 15, sitting on her porch swing. She gave a wistful smile. "They've got their own lives, Luke. But I've got you, and that's plenty." It baffled me. How could they leave her? That house, filled with memories of my grandfather, was her heart. My father grumbled she should sell it and move to town, but Clara refused. "This is my home," she'd say. I promised myself, even as a kid, that I'd never let her feel abandoned. At 19, I left Montpelier for college in Burlington, a city alive with music, art, and the scent of lake air. My dorm was a shoebox, peeling paint, a creaky bunk bed, a desk wedged by a foggy window overlooking the campus quad. My roommate, Ethan, a computer science major, was glued to his laptop, blasting heavy metal through headphones. He was friendly but distant, more into coding than conversation. Burlington felt overwhelming. Red brick lecture halls, crowded cafes, students who seemed to know exactly where they were headed. I chose graphic design because I liked doodling and thought I could make cool posters or YouTube thumbnails, but I felt lost in classes on typography and color theory. I struggled to connect with classmates, eating alone in the cafeteria, watching groups laugh and chatter. I missed Clara's kitchen, the smell of her pie, her voice cutting through my doubts. Burlington was 40 miles from Montpelier, too far for regular visits, so I'd call her at night, sprawled on my bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. "You holding up, Luke?" she'd ask, her voice warm as ever. "I'm trying," I'd say, my throat tight. "It's hard. I don't know if I belong here." She'd laugh softly. "Nobody knows at 19, Luke. Stumble, learn, keep going. My pie's waiting if you need it." Her words were a lifeline. One restless night, scrolling through my phone to drown out Ethan's music, I decided to start a YouTube channel. I'd seen classmates post silly skits, dance challenges, pranks, so I thought, why not try? I filmed myself doing a mock weather report in my dorm, hamming it up with a fake deep voice, or wiping out on my bike with cartoonish sound effects. My first video got 60 views, mostly from Ethan and a few Montpelier friends. It wasn't much, but it felt like I'd created something real. I kept at it, posting rants about the cafeteria's soggy fries or skits about dodging professors. My channel crept to 600 subscribers, giving me a spark of purpose in a sea of self-doubt. I made it a point to visit Clara every few weeks, biking the long road to Shelburne. Her hair was thinner now, her hands shakier as she kneaded dough. "You okay, Grandma?" I'd ask, watching her pause to catch her breath. "Fit as a fiddle," she'd say, waving me off. But I saw the loneliness in her quiet moments, staring out at the hills. My father, now a shop supervisor, was too busy with meetings. My mother was caught up in work and her book club. Uncle Henry sent postcards from Boston, Aunt Ellen, juggling her kids, complained Clara's house was falling apart. It infuriated me, but I didn't know how to fix it except to spend more time with her. One visit, I had an idea. "Grandma, let's film you making pie for my YouTube channel," I said, setting up my phone. She laughed, swatting the air. "Who'd watch an old lady bake?" I pleaded, and she relented, muttering, "You're a silly boy." I recorded her in her kitchen, slicing apples, telling stories of her seamstress days, how she'd charm customers with quick jokes. I added upbeat music and posted it, "Grandma Clara's Apple Pie, Soul Food." By morning, it had 4,000 views. Comments flooded in. "She's so sweet. Can we get the recipe? She's like my Nana." I read them to Clara, and she chuckled, her eyes bright. Kids these days are funny, liking an old woman's pie. I kept filming her gardening, knitting, sharing tales of raising her kids alone. My channel grew to 18,000 subscribers. Viewers loved Clara's warmth, her sincerity. One wrote, "Her stories make me miss my grandma. I called her today." Clara smiled when I read it. "If I'm doing some good, Luke, that's enough." College wasn't what I'd hoped. Graphic design classes, endless lectures on font pairings and color wheels, felt like a slog. I wasn't great at networking, and my classmates' confidence made me feel invisible. I worked part-time at a campus bookstore, shelving novels and textbooks to cover rent and tuition, but the $12 an hour wage barely kept me afloat. I started skipping classes, my grades slipping back to my Montpelier days. I feared I'd fail, proving my father right. He'd always said I'd amount to nothing if I didn't shape up. Late nights, I'd lie awake, Ethan's keyboard clacking in the background, wondering if I'd made a mistake leaving home. Clara's calls were my anchor. "You're doing fine, Luke," she'd say. "Go slow, don't stop." Her voice pulled me back from the edge, reminding me why I kept trying. My YouTube channel became my escape. Posting videos, Clara baking, or me ranting about dorm life gave me a sense of control. The channel hit 20,000 subscribers, mostly from Clara's videos. Fans sent messages, "Your grandma's a gem. Her pie looks amazing." It wasn't just the views. It was the connection. People shared stories of their own grandparents, their hometowns. It made me feel less alone. I visited Clara monthly, biking to Shelburne despite the aching distance. She was frilier now, her hands trembling as she stirred pie filling, her steps slower on the porch. "You feeling okay, Grandma?" I'd ask, noticing her pause to rest. "I'm fine," she'd insist, but her eyes betrayed a quiet weariness. My father, now managing the auto shop, rarely called her. My mother was too busy with her social circle. Uncle Henry, in Boston, sent a birthday card once a year. Aunt Ellen, overwhelmed with her twins, griped that Clara should sell her house and stop being stubborn. I hated their neglect but felt powerless, so I poured my energy into Clara, helping her garden, fixing her leaky faucet, filming more videos to make her smile. One Sunday, I set up my phone in her kitchen. "Let's do another pie video," I said. She rolled her eyes but agreed, tying her plaid apron. I filmed her rolling dough, her voice soft as she recalled sewing wedding dresses for rich clients. "They'd tip extra for my jokes," she said, chuckling. I posted it with a jazzy soundtrack, Clara's Pie, Part 2. It hit 6,000 views in a day, comments begging for her recipe. Clara laughed when I read them. "It's just apples and love, Luke." My channel grew to 25,000 subscribers, and I started dreaming bigger. Maybe I could make this a career, but college was a grind. Bookstore shifts left me exhausted, and tuition bills piled up. I skipped more classes, my GPA teetering. I called Clara one night, my voice breaking. "I'm messing up, Grandma. I can't keep up." She was quiet, then said, "You're not messing up. You're learning. Come home if you need pie." I laughed through tears, her words a balm. Then came the call that changed everything. It was a chilly October evening, and I was restocking shelves at the bookstore, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. My phone vibrated, Clara's name on the screen. I smiled, expecting a funny story about her garden or a neighbor's cat. but her voice was frail, trembling. "Luke, I need to talk. Can you come to Montpelier?" My stomach dropped. "Grandma, what's wrong? Where are you?" "I'm at a motel," she said, her voice barely audible. "I left your parents' house." Panic surged. "I'm coming," I said, yanking off my apron. I told my boss I had a family emergency and caught the last bus to Montpelier, a 90-minute ride through dark hills. I tried calling Clara again, but she didn't answer. I texted my parents, asking what happened, but got no reply. Fear gnawed at me. What had they done to her? The motel was a rundown place on Montpelier's edge, its neon sign flickering, the air sharp with frost. I knocked on her door, heart pounding. "Grandma, it's Luke." She opened it, her frame small and hunched, her silver hair messy, her eyes red from crying. She wore a worn sweater, clutching a cloth bag like a lifeline. "Luke," she whispered, hugging me tightly. I guided her to the bed in the cramped room, the walls stained, the light harsh. "Why are you here? Not at home?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She sighed, her hands shaking. "I'm sick, Luke. Heart failure. I need weekly treatments, medication, hospital visits. I went to your parents for help." I held her cold hand. "What did they say?" Her voice broke. "I told Richard. He called Henry and Ellen for a family meeting. I didn't ask for much, just a place to stay, help getting to the hospital. But Richard said the treatments were too expensive, he couldn't afford it. Henry said he was swamped with a new project in Boston. Ellen said her boys were too much work. They told me to sell my house, move to a nursing home. My blood boiled. They said that? Your own kids." She stood, wobbling, and walked to the window. "I understand, Luke. They've got their struggles." I felt like a burden, so I left. Tears stung my eyes. I hugged her, my voice fierce. "You're not a burden. You're coming to Burlington with me. I'll take care of you." She shook her head. "You're young, Luke, with school and work. But I wouldn't budge. You're my family. I won't let you be alone." The next day, I went to Shelburne to pack her things. A few sweaters, her plaid apron, her pie tin. We took a bus to Burlington, settling into my dorm. Ethan had moved out to live with his girlfriend, so it was just us in the tiny room. A bunk bed, a desk, a hot plate in the corner. Life became a blur. I'd wake at dawn, make tea for Clara, rush to classes or the bookstore, then take her to the hospital for heart treatments. The bills were crushing, $200 copays, plus rent and tuition. I stopped posting on YouTube, too tired to edit, but Clara kept me going. She'd tidy the room, fold my clothes, or leave a slice of pie on my desk with a note, "Eat, Luke." At night, I'd eat her pie, telling her about my day, flunking a design quiz, dealing with a rude customer. She'd listen, just like when I was a kid, and say, "You're doing enough, Luke. I'm proud." But anger simmered inside me. My father, Uncle Henry, Aunt Ellen. They'd abandoned her, the woman who'd given them everything. I remembered her stories, sewing till her fingers bled, calling bread and jam a feast to keep them happy. Now, when she needed them, they turned her away. I vowed to give her a better life, no matter the cost. Clara hated sitting still. One morning, as I rushed to class, she said, "Luke, I'm not useless. I raised 3 kids, worked my whole life. Find me a job, something light." I worried about her health but couldn't say no to her stubborn spark. I asked at the campus cafe where I grabbed lunch. The manager, Sarah, a no-nonsense woman with a tight bun, raised an eyebrow. "She's old, Luke. Can she handle it?" "She's tougher than me," I said. Clara met Sarah, smiling. "I'm slow, but I work hard. Give me a chance." Sarah hired her for light tasks, washing dishes, chopping apples. I was a wreck those first days, checking on her between classes. But Clara shone, humming old tunes as she peeled fruit, joking with the staff. They started calling her Grandma Clara, teasing her about her careful knife work. "Slow but perfect," a cook said, grinning. Seeing her happy eased my fear, but the weight of her illness and our bills loomed. Life in Burlington was a grind, but Clara's presence made it bearable. I juggled classes, bookstore shifts, and her hospital visits, each treatment a reminder of her fragility. My grades slipped further, and my YouTube channel gathered dust. But Clara's spirit kept me grounded. She'd leave pie on my desk, her handwriting shaky but warm. "Tell me about your day, Luke." Eating her pie, I'd unload stress from a failed project, exhaustion from late shifts. She'd listen, her eyes kind, and say, "You're carrying a lot, but you're strong." Her faith in me battled my doubts, but I couldn't shake my anger at my family. Richard, Henry, and Ellen had left her in that motel. Their excuses: money, time, kids, ringing hollow against her sacrifices. I swore I'd never be like them. One day, Clara insisted on helping more. "I'm not a burden," she said, her voice firm. "I was a seamstress, Luke. I can work." I hesitated but asked Sarah at the cafe if they had more hours. Sarah agreed to let Clara prep ingredients, slicing apples, washing greens. Clara took to it like she'd never left a kitchen, her hands steady as she worked, her smile bright. The staff adored her, slipping her coffee, calling her Grandma Clara. One hectic Friday, with the cafe packed for a campus concert, Sarah was desperate. "Clara, you must have a killer recipe from your seamstress days," she said, half joking. "We need a dessert special." Clara looked at me, uncertain. I grinned. "Make your apple pie, Grandma." She spent hours in the kitchen, mixing dough, slicing apples, the air thick with cinnamon. Sarah tasted a slice and gasped. "Clara, this is incredible. It's on the menu." That day, Grandma Clara's apple pie sold out in hours. Students lined up, raving, "This is the best pie ever." I filmed Clara serving slices, students cheering, and posted it. "Grandma Clara's pie takes over." It hit 80,000 views overnight, comments exploding. "She's a queen. Recipe, please." My channel surged to 50,000 subscribers. Clara laughed, blushing. "It's just pie, Luke." The video changed everything. A viewer commented, "Clara needs her own bakery. I'd donate to make it happen." I showed it to her. "They want us to open a place for your pie." She waved me off. "I'm too old for that nonsense." But the idea stuck. I posted a video sharing our story, Clara's heart condition, how I brought her to live with me, my dream to give her a better life. I launched a GoFundMe for Clara's Kitchen, setting a $8,000 goal for a small shop. Within days, it raised $4,000 from strangers across Vermont, California, even Canada. A classmate, Sophie, a marketing major with sharp eyes and a quick smile, approached me. "I saw your video, Luke. Want help with a business plan?" I was stunned. "Why help me?" She shrugged. "Your story's real. Plus, I need a project for class." Sophie drafted a plan, renting a space near campus, selling Clara's pie and a grilled veggie sandwich from her seamstress days. Another friend, Noah, a design major, created a logo, Clara holding a pie, Clara's Kitchen in soft cursive. The GoFundMe hit $12,000. I found a small shop, a former deli with big windows and a cozy vibe. Clara walked in, her eyes misty. "Make it feel like home, Luke, warm, simple." Opening day was a whirlwind. Clara baked pies, I manned the counter, Sophie handed out flyers. The shop filled with students, professors, and locals, the air rich with apple and spice. A woman said, "This pie's like my mom's." A student shouted, "Can I get 2 slices?" I filmed the chaos. Clara smiling, customers laughing, and posted it. "Clara's Kitchen opens." It hit 700,000 views, my channel soaring to 250,000 subscribers. A YouTuber, Taste Trekker, visited, filming Clara baking. His video got 1.5 million views, pushing our GoFundMe to $30,000. A Burlington investor, Jane, offered $150,000 to start a chain. "Your pie has heart," she said. Clara agreed, but said, "Keep it cozy, Luke, like my kitchen." We opened shops in Rutland and Brattleboro, each with wooden tables and wildflower vases, just as Clara wanted. A Vermont TV station, WCAX, invited us on a talk show. Clara, in her plaid sweater, charmed the host, Sarah. I bake because it's how I love, she said, her voice steady. For my kids back then, for Luke now, for everyone who walks in. The audience cheered, and I teared up, holding her hand. The interview went viral, drawing customers from Montreal and Albany. Clara's kitchen became a sensation, covering her treatments and my tuition debt. But fame brought shadows. One busy Saturday, as I cleared tables, the shop's door swung open. My father, Richard, in a worn jacket, Uncle Henry in a flashy Boston suit, and Aunt Ellen with a tight smile walked in. "Luke, we need to talk," Richard said, his voice stiff. Clara, behind the counter, froze, her eyes flickering with pain. I led them to a back table, my heart pounding. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice sharp. Richard cleared his throat. "We've seen Clara's kitchen on TV. We're proud, Luke. We want to help." Henry jumped in. "I've got investor contacts in Boston. We can make this huge." Ellen added, "I can handle the books. We're family, Luke." I laughed, bitter. "Family? You left her in a motel when she was sick. Now you want in because we're famous." Clara touched my arm. "Luke, they're my children. Don't fight." But I couldn't stop. "You told her to sell her home, go to a nursing home. You broke her heart." Richard's face reddened. "We were struggling, Luke." Henry snapped. "We're her kids. We have a right." Ellen teared up, but it felt rehearsed. "We want to make it right." I stood, shaking. "You don't get to swoop in now. Clara and I built this with strangers' help, not yours." Clara's voice was soft but firm. "Enough, Luke. I've forgiven them. If they want to help, let them, but you decide." I agreed, grudgingly, insisting every choice went through me. Days later, a video went viral, 800,000 views in hours. Titled "The Truth About Clara's Family." It showed our argument, secretly filmed by a customer. My voice rang clear. "You abandoned her." Henry's cold reply, "We have a right." Comments erupted. "Shame on them. Clara deserves better." My family's social media was flooded with criticism. They called furious. Richard shouted, "You posted that to ruin us." "I didn't post it," I shot back. "But it's true, you left her." Henry threatened to sue. Ellen called me ungrateful. I hung up, blocking their numbers. I didn't tell Clara, not wanting to hurt her, but the betrayal burned. A year later, Clara's Kitchen was a chain with shops in 5 Vermont towns. I dropped out of college to run it, becoming CEO and content creator. I bought Clara a house in Burlington, with a garden bursting with marigolds, and hired a nurse for her care. We'd sit in her kitchen, eating pie, reminiscing about Shelburne days. Clara taught me family isn't blood. It's who stands by you. Our YouTube community, strangers who donated and cheered, became our true family. "Love finds a way, Luke," Clara said, her smile bright. Her pie carried us from a dorm to a legacy.